Sometimes, it's a fine line when CFL teams are making their final roster decisions. On Sunday, the Redblacks released 10 players and added 10 to their practice roster to get down to the 46-man limit heading into the CFL regular season. There were some tough decisions, which, of course, is a good thing. If you're releasing talented players, it means your scouts have done a good job. It comes down to a number of factors, obviously practice and preseason games, but also a guy's ability to fit into what we're trying to do in terms of this is about the Redblacks, not about a player as an individual, said Redblacks GM Marcel Desjardins Sunday. Some guys maybe are nicked up a bit. There are so many different factors that go into it. We're just trying to piece it together and find the optimum scenario for our roster, and we feel like we've accomplished that at this point. Players released on Sunday: receivers Chance Allen, Houston, and Kieran Duncan, Colorado State; Pueblo, linebackers Ezekiel Bigger, East Carolina, and Tanner Dahl, Calgary; defensive back Dahan Butler, Hawaii; kicker Sergio Castillo, West Texas A. Way more odds-on players added to the Redblacks practice roster: quarterback Will Arndt, veteran Connecticut State; defensive backs Sherrod Baltimore, Maine; Reggie Daniels, Oregon; and Arian Penton, Missouri; offensive linemen Armando Bonner, Samford, and Jacob C. Jaza, St. Francis Xavier; defensive lineman Harold Brantley, Northwest Missouri State; receivers Seth Coale, St. Francis, In, and R.J. Shelton, Michigan State, and linebacker Michael Code, Concordia. It was surprising to see Baltimore, who was so good at times in his 2017 rookie season, pushed to the practice roster, with Corey Tyndall sliding ahead of him on the depth chart. With the new guys we brought in, plus with Corey, we feel that's the mix we want to go with, said Desjardins. Sherrod knows that the practice roster is going to give him the ability to continue to compete with an opportunity to get back to the roster. It's a decision we needed to make, and we're comfortable with the group of defensive backs. Castillo, who kicked for the Hamilton Tiger Cats last year before an ACL injury sidelined him in October, was bothered by a calf injury through much of training camp. He hit a 45-yard field goal in a 32-17 preseason win over Toronto Thursday in Guelph. The Redblacks have decided to go with a combination of former Ottawa Gigi Lewis Ward field goals and Richie Leone punts. Sergio Castillo, Chris Hoffley of the Redblacks, son Sergio, didn't have the length of time to prove to us within training camp that he was going to be the guy, said Desjardins. For us, we wanted to go with more certainty. Lewis was very good in preseason and throughout training camp, and Richie's proven he's an all-star in this league and has a very good leg. Dahl was with the Redblacks since he was selected as a fourth-rounder in the 2015 CFL draft. Tanner is basically a long snapper, said Desjardins. We didn't have the luxury of keeping another long snapper around at the expense of another position player, another guy who could contribute in more phases on special teams. Duncan had looked very good in camp while utilized as a returner. But so had Shelton. We liked them both, we just couldn't keep them both, said Desjardins. You have to make choices, and we just felt R.J. was the choice for us right now. Thursday's game had at least a small impact in the roster decisions. We didn't, for instance, keep an extra linebacker around on our practice roster, said Desjardins. The guys we did let go didn't differentiate themselves enough in the preseason game to say, we have to have this guy here. That played out at a couple of different positions. As much as the preseason game was a factor, it's more the big picture we're looking at. Moving forward, the Redblacks have a bye in Week 1, opening their season at home June 21st versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders. When the Redblacks return to the practice field Thursday, it's hoped both quarterback Trevor Harris and receiver Brad Sinopoli are good to go. The return of offensive linemen Nolan McMillan and Jason Lazon-Seguin is still a question mark. We're not necessarily counting on them to be ready for the first game, but we haven't ruled them out, either, said Desjardins. Cutting edge, here are some of the more notable cuts from around the league. WR Rob Bagg, Chad Owens and Bakari Grant, OL Travis Bond, RB Bryce Vieira, Saskatchewan, OL Dylan Guyan, WR Anthony Parker, Calgary, DL Evan Gill, Toronto, WR Scott McDonald, DB Brandon Thompson and DL Mark Mackey, Edmonton, and DL Faith Ekakaida, Winnipeg. Do any of the releases from around the league interest the Red Blacks? Said Desjardins, we have to explore all our options, both Canadian and American. If there's something out there that makes us better, we have to go down that path. The end around, former Red Blacks All-Star DB Abdul Kana has been dealt from the Hamilton Tiger Cats to the Toronto Argos for an 8th-round draft pick. Former Western standout DL John Bewild, who looked like he was on the verge of earning a roster spot with the Red Blacks a year ago before an ACL injury KO'd his season, has been added to the Argos practice squad. Local kicker Tyler Crapinya and former Red Blacks WRJ Carty are both on Saskatchewan's 6-game injured list. It's been reported both will be gone for the entire season. When asked about his team's defense, which looked excellent in the preseason, Desjardins said, "The proof is in the pudding, as they say. We need to deliver, we need to be aggressive, we need to make plays, we need to be all the things we say we're going to be. I like where we're at on paper, now we need to go out and prove it." Asked if he liked his team's bye in the opening week, Red Blacks coach Rick Campbell said, "I think so. When there were 2 bye weeks, I don't know if I would say that. But when there are 3 bye weeks, we will have 2 more coming. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. The other teams play, we get to see them and they don't see us." Campbell made it very clear that, in the quarterback pecking order, Dominique Davis is the backup to Trevor Harris.